Welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and each weekday we'll share enthusiasm for what's possible and dive into the stories of Iowans living their dream lives right here in the heartland. Whether you're chasing a big goal or just looking for a little inspiration, we've got you covered. Let's change the world together. This is Living the Dream Iowa Life. Let's go. Heyo, welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. I'm excited to be here with you mostly because we are talking about power, just what we're always talking about on the third day of the week, power. And I want to go on a journey of reclaiming my power, which would be your, sacral, no, yes, no, solar, hold on, see, oh my gosh, Hannah's such an expert. Hannah knows nothing. She shouldn't be talking about this. I know everything. Okay, do it. You should. You're not wrong. All right, so moving into the solar plexus, which is our yellow inspired chakra, which, in case you haven't noticed, is sort of the entire vibe of all of this. And here's why. And the question today is, what's the smallest step you could take to take back your power? And the reason that I ask that is because this is the evolution of the journey of choosing yellow, of recognizing that that's my color. And it's my favorite color, so this is going to seem quite extreme, and it's strange that it's tied into the solar plexus, considering that's sort of what I was fighting against when I started my journey. But mostly, what could you do today? So when I started, I went to this conference. You get these booklets, you get all these things, rah, 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 rah. It's awesome. And I'm sitting there and I'm just looking and everybody's writing down notes. And I say to myself, I don't really take notes. And I let that sit for a little bit because it's weird to be a non-note taker when the clear expectation is that we would all be taking notes. I am the kind of person that, I will pick up 1 to 2 to 3 things and they will stay with me for the rest of my life. I can tell you exactly what was said. I can tell you pretty much the exact inflection that they put on whatever was said. I'm not going to lose that. Okay? And so I don't take notes, and I sit there and sort of declare that to myself. I don't take notes. But the next thing that we did was sort of a worksheet style. Okay, I can do that. I'm fine with that. I'm not anti-notes. I might write 1 or 2 things down that had a big impact that I don't want to forget, but for the most part, I don't take notes. Because it really distracts me from being in that present moment and listening. Because if I am writing, then I'm thinking, how do I spell this word? How do I write? Is my writing good enough? Oh my gosh, what do I need to change to the next page? When do I need to flip? Right? I got to be doing the one thing if you actually want me to take any of this in. So I'm going to start the worksheet, and I have 2 pens. One pen is this bright yellow ink pen. And the other pen is a standard black pen, which is certainly what I should have chosen, without question. Does a yellow pen ever make sense? Ever? No, not very often. But I say to myself, no, I want to write with the yellow pen. I'm going to write with the yellow pen. That's what I'm going to do. So I stand and I say, I'm writing with yellow, whether that makes sense or not. It's yellow. It's yellow. It's my favorite color. I hadn't let myself play in that palette for a very, very long time, outside of maybe a few cardigans if I was feeling wild. But yellow was not a part of anything because most people had told me my whole life, yellow. Gross. And now that I think about what that chakra means, I can see why that color is so offensive. Right? Like you're stepping into your power, you're courageous. How many of us are backing down from that on the day to day, choosing to scroll and be ordinary, then step into who we're meant to be in this life? So, yellow in the sacral chakra. Nope, solar plexus. Solar plexus. Yep, I got it. I got it. I got it. I know. I know. Yellow in the solar plexus. This really is about reclaiming our power, stepping into our path. And that choice, though it seems so small, so insignificant, that I would write with a yellow pen instead of a black pen, seemed like nothing. But that was the start of one, I decide. Okay? If I want to use a yellow pen, even if the whole audience is using a black pen, I'm going to use a yellow pen. If I want to not take notes so I can really just absorb this moment, I'm going to not take notes. The whole audience can be taking notes. I'm not going to. I'm taking this in. This is what works for me. And all through schooling and all through coaching and all the things that I had done up until that point, and at that point I was a corporate career person, all through those experiences, that's sort of the norm. You're supposed to go with what everyone else is doing, and you're surrounded by people all of the time who are influencing your next choice, the next thing that you're going to do, this next move, this next moment. And I don't know. It was the first time that I sort of ungroup think and make a decision for myself on the note taking, and then step into, no, I really love yellow. I do. I really wish that everything I owned was yellow. I really do. I would be perfectly fine with that. I think it's the most delightful color that has ever existed in the history of this world. And I don't know. I just sort of walked through that moment ready to do something, ready to change my life, ready to not be in this spin of anxiety and anger, ready to take talents I had and apply them broadly to the rest of the world, to, I don't know, but just like use these gifts, use something. Enough of this, I must be in black and white, and everyone decides there shall be no color. I'm done. And so I write with the yellow pen. That was my first move. Seems so small, so simple, so insignificant, right? That's probably what you're thinking. Okay, Hannah, you wrote with the yellow pen. But that declaration really snowballed all the rest. Then I come back home and I'm thinking, why don't I ever wear yellow? That's really strange. Why don't I? And then I start just adding a little more color, not yellow necessarily, but adding a little more color to my wardrobe, to the things around me. Like, why am I not? I am a very bright, colorful, fun person. I love colors and textures and shapes, and I love clothing, and I love looking nice, but I do love playing with the options. And so I just start playing a little bit, just with my clothes, just mixing it up just a little bit, nothing too wild, but I start adding that back in. And then there's this moment where I get to present with one of the companies that I had been working with for our healthcare company. And it was on how we could use psychographic segmentation models in healthcare to kind of overlay data that tells us how our patients are going to behave. And we had come up with a couple of brilliant applications of this segmentation model, and I was really excited about it. And so I got asked to kind of present this company that was going to present and sort of pre-pitch their pitch as one of our organization people. And so the day before, I'm like, I don't have anything nice to wear. So my boss and I, we go shopping together. And I walk into Express, and they have the most beautiful yellow blazer that I have ever seen in my entire life. Still to this day, I've not seen a better one. Just standing there as if to tempt me. And so I pick out 2 outfits. One, super safe, black and white, gray. Maybe I think it was just black and white and gray. And then real me. Blue pants, like camel leather shoe, a cream top, and then this blazer. Like, come on. And so I'm just going back and forth. I buy both because I can't decide there. I'm like, I don't know. Who am I? So we decide I'll just decide tomorrow, and whatever I don't wear, I can just take back. So the morning comes, and I decide it's yellow. I'm going to wear this yellow blazer, even if that's not what I'm supposed to wear. And so I walk into this conference, and literally every soul in the place, and there were probably, I would say, about 500 leaders from my organization. And every single person was wearing either a charcoal gray jacket or a black jacket. Everybody. So I walk in, just sticking out completely. Well, luckily, my counterpart, the owner of the company that I was pitching with, he walks in, we almost match. Like, he's wearing, I think, some khaki pants and maybe a navy top. I can't quite remember, but it was a different look. You could definitely tell that he did not belong in that room. Kind of more business casual. I think he had on a jacket, but it was a lighter colored jacket. And so we walk in together, or we are sitting by each other. We're getting ready for the pitch. I walk up there, say my thing. He does his pitch. We go back to the table, and people just kept coming up. Oh my gosh, that was so interesting. When are you guys flying back? That was so interesting. Oh, tell me more about this. I'm like, no, I said I was from this organization. I don't understand. And no one thought I was, outside of my boss and her boss. They were like, oh, how nice. They brought 2 people to kind of pitch us. How wonderful. Anyways, that was not a problem. It was perfectly fine. Didn't matter one way or the other. But that day when I walked into that room and I realized, like, this is the room that I am aspiring to get to. This is a whole room of hospital administrators in their black suits, ready for me to pitch, and they know I don't belong here. And I could have, and I was saying this to myself on the ride home, like, you could have made the right choice. What were you thinking? A yellow blazer, first off, a yellow blazer is a wild choice no matter where you're going. But then you just add all the color at once to one of the most boring fashion places that could ever exist. Come on. What are you thinking? And I decided that I thought I would choose myself. And then I start having this inner dialogue about me choosing myself and my truth and how that's never going to belong in a room like that. And sure, nobody's going to say, "Oh, that's not dress code. We wear black here." Right? But it wears on you to show up and look completely different. It wears on you to not have people come up to talk to you as a colleague because you're dressed so differently and you spoke so differently. I mean, I was talking about applying some futuristic sounding technology, psychographic segmentation models on healthcare. And healthcare is usually about 10 to 15 years behind everyone. So I was essentially a Martian at this event. And it's no wonder that they didn't put me with them because it was very different. I looked different, if nothing else. And so that really started the conversation about what I want. And I hadn't actually asked myself that very much. After the conference, I kind of start questioning whether or not I want to do corporate, but I figured whatever I wanted to do, I could kind of do on the side. I had never thought that I would leave my job. I had actually planned on working there forever. That's what I told myself, that this is what I wanted and this is where I would stay and this would be a really great life for me. I'd just kind of wait to work my way up. And after that presentation, I was just wondering if choosing myself would eventually cost me this. But I was also wondering if the real me, the yellow blazer without a question, step onto the stage and rock it me, belonged there. And if she ever would. And if she really wanted to. And I think that last one is what started to kind of just ping in my chest a little bit. One by one, just kind of slowly starting. That was the first seed that was planted, right? The yellow pen really started the engines moving, started me thinking, man, I love this color. What am I doing? What am I doing to myself? I'm not even utilizing a color that I enjoy more than anything in this world. I think it's because I'm a Leo sun and moon, maybe. It's just like all fire. We're just yellow. We're just yellow. Either way, what am I doing? This color is not a part of my life at all. Choose the yellow pen. The next bigger step, buy the yellow blazer. Even bigger step, wear the yellow blazer. Own that look. I have never felt better in an outfit in my entire life. It was so fire. It was so me. It was amazing. And so that was it. Then the ball starts rolling. And both of these things, if you're listening to this, probably seem like, oh my gosh, yeah, those aren't even big deals. That's not a big deal thing, Hannah. You chose a pen color and you wore a jacket. Come on. But that's what I'm saying around this show today. It's so seemingly small. Taking your power back can start so small, so simple, that it can almost seem like nothing at all. And I could have taken that pen moment and just been like, well, I like yellow, so I picked this pen. And instead, I realized that this was essentially the equivalent to letting everyone decide life for me. And if I was going to decide, then it was going to be yellow. Way more yellow. Just so yellow. The most yellow. Welcome. And so we made it a lot bit yellow, a whole lot. And it was lovely and joyous and so fun. And everything now is yellow without question. You know this. And I do feel like every time that I wake up and I choose that color and I get to be around that color, it really does give me courage and power and just everything that I need to keep moving forward. And we are moving forward. I have posted and done things that I have been scared to do for almost 5 years. For the first time in forever. So if you have been, oh, I've been waiting for Hannah to launch things so I could do more than just listen to her talk. I really want her help and guidance. Go ahead and check out my socials. We are posting things. There will be a workshop soon. And I'm so grateful to be in that place. And I know right now the biggest step that's happening is definitely rebalancing that chakra for me, because almost when I opened local, I had been on one of the highest spiritual planes that I had ever been on. And it felt so good and it was amazing, but it also was a little bit like, whoa, I don't know that I want to go this far into this. Like, I still want to be a normal human being. I don't need to be some hippy dippy smelling flower weirdo that no one can relate to. I don't know that I want to go that far into this work. And that was definitely where I was being kind of pulled naturally. And I just kept saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go there. And so instead of going there, I do what anyone would do. I start a business, a very public business, and I think it was fair. It was perfect timing. I had been just sort of a hermit for 2 to 3 years. I didn't know how to work. I was finally ready to work. I had found the way that I worked. And at the same time, I had found this really beautiful balance of peace and harmony. And that all came from a whole lot of yoga, a whole lot of breath work, a whole lot of just deep spiritual cleansing breathing. And when I realized that I was going to leave kind of the real world and step into this more, I don't know that enlightened is the right word, but definitely this higher understanding of how the world works, I ran. And naturally, I ran right into the arms of people, community, because it can be scary. And it was such a beautiful existence without question. I mean, it felt good to feel needed again. It felt good to feel important, to feel like I had an idea that was worth something. And I just started working. I mean, the second that people thought, oh, this is a good idea, the second that people kind of like the book, they kind of like the shop, once that ball was rolling, all of a sudden I'm like an instant who I am, right? I'm like, oh, I'll work this. I got this. I'm going to do this. Here I go. Blah, 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 blah. Like, whatever you need. I'm not sleeping. I'm not meditating. I'm not doing yoga. I'm just working. I'm going to wake up at whatever time. It doesn't even bother me. I'll be down at the shop. I'll just work. And I did do that for about 3 years. And it was so wonderful and magical. And I would not take a year back. But what I would have done is not completely neglected my spiritual self over that time. And now I think that it is beautifully poetic that the choosing of myself is in line with finally taking The Death of a Dream, my first book, out on tour, because it's yellow. It makes sense. It really is about choosing yourself. It really is about stepping into your power. And it is in the start of that journey. And I do think the beginning of that journey, I was so far disconnected from myself, from my body, from my spirit, from everything, that just choosing myself was a step in the right direction. And then from there, I think everything else started to unlock as I stayed in that power place, as I felt a need to keep moving to the next level. And that's really, I believe, the core of where we fall off is the solar plexus, is the backing down from our power selves. I mean, we can do it for a little bit of time and it feels so great and we feel great and we know that we want to own this, but it can be something that's really hard to sustain, especially when we're in the roots of our community, if they haven't sort of leveled up or changed along with us. And so much of the spiritual journey, of the breath work and the yoga, really is a lonely sort of part path to take, because there just aren't very many people that continue leveling up past the ego side of the solar plexus. And that's where we reroute. If we don't step into our power, but then continue on to love and acceptance, then we stay in ego. And what happens in ego, right? In the ego side, or the it wouldn't be deficient side, in the overbearing, overabundant side of the solar plexus activity, is we tear things apart. Because we can't stand for anyone to be above us, to be better than us, to be whatever. And so we become super gossipy and drama filled, and it's a crazy web to keep weaving around ourselves. And then, if we are successful in tearing everything apart, and sometimes it takes years, eventually we have to leave. Right? And then that involves rerouting. We're right back down to our root chakra, all the way down. And then we have to reroute, find something to feel safe and secure in, and then we can get a little creative. And then once we do that, we kind of find our power wherever we are. If people are accepting and loving of our ideas, then we step into our power place. And if we don't leave the ego side of that, we rip everything down again, right back to the root, right back to go. And stepping into our power, if we're really stepping into it. And the book, my first book, talks about this in cycles a little bit. We get into it. I now understand that is chakral. But yeah, stepping into our power and moving out of the overpower and stepping kind of clearly in the center of that line. We're not deficient. We're not overabundant. We're just walking right down the middle. The middle is always going to take us into loving ourselves. And that really, I think, is the hardest one to jump into. Because of our society, because of our communities, because of just how everything works. And so Stepping into your power is extremely important. We have to start to step that way. And at some point, we have to heal that chakra, get it into a neutral phase where we aren't so reliant on our ego that we can't build anything out of sort of love. But we're also not so deficient that we can't move at all, that we just sort of stay stuck in this loop forever. And the first step can be super small. So if you have a step, go ahead and comment that, because you can comment on this podcast, I think. If you're listening on Spotify, you certainly can. If you've had a step that you've taken that seems so small but really changed everything, literally a pen color choice can be one of the first steps. What are those for you? I want to talk about that. Let's talk about it on socials. I do have a private group for all of you. This is not on Facebook because I don't actually want to push you to socials that often. I want us to like find it and then leave. But our community, we have a private community, so it is a paid community, but that's so we can make sure that we get the good people that want to be here, that aren't just trolling to troll, that aren't trying to weave us into this web deeper than we want to be. We're all about dreams and possibilities and the hard stuff, but also always coming back to better, back to our strongest selves. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.